That's me, and I just want to go to all our esteemed panelists so that they can give a introduction to themselves.
Hi.
So yeah, my name is Christian Adolfo. I'm a journalist and a writer and author of A Quick Thing on Afrobeats, which is, I think, not to sound big-headed, I think it's the first of its kind in the world, looking at the development of West African music, specifically across Africa and the wider diaspora. Prior to that, I was freelancing a lot, doing work with Rock Africa, The Guardian, Independent, and just generally kind of show the different facets of culture and creativity in Ghana and Nigeria, but also across the wider diaspora. So it's been a journey, but thank you for the Africa Centre for having me here. So yeah.
I mean, that was long. I just was going to say my name and my designation. Was it on? But you kind of
No, we want info.
information. Okay, thank you, Christian. My name is Edith Bakenta. I'm a producer and a director. And I've produced quite a few music videos. I've produced, actually have a film that comes out today in Nigeria called The Order of Things. So that comes out today in Nigeria. Hi, yeah. So,
Woo.
yeah. I've, done a lot of short form content, long form content on the continent in Africa, Nigeria, Ghana to be specific, and in London as well. Okay, I will speak up. So I'm really happy to be here. Bit of trivia, I worked with Meji in 2015. I produced a music video for him.
Yeah, she did.
And it was with Malik Berry and Ikes. And that's kind of how we kind of kicked off our journey as like producer, director, and me kind of working with more people that are, have the same vision as me. And that leads me to Meji. There you go.
All right, thank you, Edith.
You're welcome.
Oof, I'm loud. Clap for Edith.
Thank you.
All right, my name is Meji Alabi. I'm a director and also a producer. I do music videos and commercials and moving on to narrative things. I started off, in the UK, I guess, doing music videos here, with Edith as well. And, I was working with, maybe Malik Berry and a lot of, other artists. Poe, I also did a video with him early days. And, then that kind of transferred into other places. And, it's been really great. And I'm happy to be here at the Africa Center talking to everybody. So, yeah, director and producer. And next up, Ladipo.
Hi guys, how's everybody doing? Let's not forget that Meji worked with Beyonce, as far as I'm concerned. That needs to be mentioned. Yeah.
Thank you.
My name is Ladipo. I am a recording artist, performing artist. I'm from Nigeria and one of the leading artists on the continent, as far as I'm concerned. One of the leading rappers on the continent. And so I signed to a record label called Maven Records, first rapper that was on that label, and a lot of people felt that was not going to work out because the sound was not, in the country, was not big enough to accommodate that. And now we are shaping new narratives, and I think it's important to be here now. Music videos have played a big part in my career, and they're going to continue to play a big part, and so I'm happy to be here to share my own perspective. Yeah.
And also, Poe, I'm loving the daily paper drip. I'm loving the daily paper drip.
Oh, yes, daily paper.
Africa first,
Oh, 100%. And he's rocking waffles and cream, which
Oh,
is
okay.
Yes,
Shout out, well.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I've got no black designers, I'm sorry, but normally. Okay, so we're going to start off with Christian. And we had a brief kind of introduction and meeting there, and we'll discuss in your book a quick thing on Afrobeats. Firstly, I love the name because I just love it when we're able to just put our slang and lingo in there and just make things our own. But for anyone who hasn't read the book, can you please explain the inspiration of the book?
So I would say my writing journey started maybe in 2011, and back then obviously a different kind of climate to what it was now with regards to just trying to have a really kind of professional output in terms of interviewing artists and different people within the different scenes, etc. The book itself, I think for me, even though it says it's part of a wider series called The Quick Thing On, looking at kind of Black British identity and different kind of culture and topics. The book itself is looking at the journey of music from West Africa specifically, Anglophone West Africa, Nigeria and Ghana, and its kind of journey through migration, political events, advancement of technology, and within that, essentially connecting the dots between past and present. So it takes you from a journey from like Afrobeat, high life, UK funky, dancers, producers, women in the scene, all the way to the kind of the present day. So I really wanted to connect the dots because I think with a lot of the music, when it starts to move into the popular realm, as it has done in the last like decade or so, we don't have a lot of context as to really ladder up where the music came from or how it's really developed. So that was my main thinking with the book, to really kind of show that journey across continents, but across time as well.
Okay, and then, so you were saying that you were doing the research. How long did that research actually take you?
So in all of writing this book, I say probably like 3 years. But aside from that, I had a lot of interviews and maybe answers I had from other features I did with artists where it didn't really fit with regard to the narrative or the features I was working on. So it was a lot of going back and finding those archive bits, those kind of interesting angles, which maybe didn't fit into like the mainstream narrative press, but I knew would fit into a book or something more substantial at a point in time. And YouTube as well was a massive kind of resource for me to use and bring up all these stories which people weren't really kind of privy to at the time. So yeah.
And you were saying that you conducted interviews. What would you say is your favorite interview?
For story, only for context of like being on the continent of stories, there's one interview I did when I went to visit one of the main people behind kind of hip life. His name was called Panji Anoff, and he used to live here in the UK. He used to write on Desmond's when it first started, but at the same time he was also like a journalist for the BBC, and he used a lot of his kind of proceeds selflessly to get studio time for a lot of the artists in Ghana, and a lot of artists who were kind of interested in having access to really good equipment and technology, but didn't have the kind of money to do it. So going to interview him in his house, he's almost like a really eccentric uncle, because you walk in, it's not like your typical uncle where you go back and he's just like got a massive like club or star beer and he's got a pot belly. He's like, you walk into the yard and he's got all these really like interesting like art sculptures made out of like recycled like tires and like coat hangers and frames and stuff. And then you walk into the house and it's got like a whole mural where he's like specifically commissioned someone to have all these like African leaders past and present in there. And you could really just tell that he's someone that's really loves like culture and helping a new generation find their own kind of voices into identity. And the great thing about his one, it was like, he's someone who you feel like you could listen to for hours with regards to like all the different kind of stories and connecting the dots between different people. And it was amazing to kind of be in his presence and listen to how he was going to America to stuff like Panafest in like the early 90s and really trying to push like African music to the African Americans and make that kind of direct connection. And it's lovely to kind of see that come full circle now.
Sorry, can you repeat his name? Because I don't think that's even a name that I'm not sure if anyone else is familiar with him, but...
Is Panji Anoff.
Panji Anoff. Okay, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
we have a lot to thank for him, because I'm not... Is anyone else familiar with him in the room? So yeah, I think, we've learned something already.
Yeah.
And so in your book, you reference him specifically, and you speak about your interview with him.
Yeah, speak up my interview with him and just like the many different people he's like helped kind of bolster or even push in the present day. Like even people like Jules, Amare, he's been someone who's been quite like a guru, telling him to like, not to forget your Africanness, but at the same time, reference the past in music in some way to give it that kind of classic feel.
Well, that's amazing, because my next question was going to be, what is your target market? Those familiar with Afrobeats or not familiar with Afrobeats, but the fact that I've never even heard about him, I'm probably your target
Yeah.
market. So what would you say was your target market when you write in the book?
I think, first and foremost, I think a lot of, I'm quite lucky I had an editor who allowed me to leave a lot of the kind of cultural references and the colloquialisms and the slang and the pidgin within there. So obviously on one end, there's that kind of instant resonance with regard to upbringing, your identity you kind of latch onto. The other side of it obviously was when I was going through the editing process and she was telling me, okay, cool, be a bit more stringent and having to explain myself for things which I guess maybe for us we would understand instantly, those references, but for maybe our allies or our friends who probably won't know so much about the music or the culture around it, really try and bring that to life. So I think now it's more across the board, and with the kind of press I've done, it's been great to see different people from all over, from London and as well as that from Europe, etc. And they're picking up particular parts of the culture or the time they were even going to university and listening to the music through like an ACS or like uni raves and how it brought that kind of resonance back to them. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's interesting is, I said, me, who I'd say I'm quite familiar with Afrobeats, I think even I myself could learn from understanding the history of things, you know, of how it started even in the 80s. Because I think a lot of us think about African music just from the hall parties of the 2000s and 90s and forget the 80s and probably, sorry if you can repeat his name one more time. Pangianov, and probably the times when he was going to America and influencing the music there. So I think, yeah, I'd probably say that I'm also could be your target market. So thank you. I thank you in advance.
That's all good.
And this is a question, I know specifically to you, Christian, but anyone else on the panel can feel free to add their 2 pence or their Maggie and spice. But what are your thoughts? Oh, not my foot falling. What are your thoughts on the current impact of Afrobeat music on mainstream culture? Now, this one's a bit spicy because now we're going to talk about, you know, features like from the likes of like Justin Bieber's and Ed Sheeran's, or even the Fireboy and Madonna collaboration. So, what do you think those features? You know, what do you think about them?
As an artist, what do you think?
Is this being recorded? Is this going somewhere? Be free, but not too free.
Personally, I think that they've been positive. I think those kind of things open up the space even more. It's doing that on its own, but I will not say that these things are necessities, but it's nice that they're happening, because a lot of these artists that are collaborating are not coming, taking, going. They are shining they are opening up to their own fan base too, right? And what we're having is very simple. You're going to have kids who, whether they grew up in Africa or not, have African friends or not, experiencing our music. And that in itself does its own thing. So I grew up listening to dancehall that came out of Jamaica, you know, and that feeds itself back into my own music in some way or some fashion. So I think that all these things, they really are important. The most important thing is that our infrastructures and our processes are moving as quickly as the music. So someone like yourself, who's come from the legal space, you're so important because you're ensuring that African artists are just as informed, making sure their split sheets are signed so that no one is taking advantage of another person. You know, and this conversation is very tricky because you now start to hear things about appropriation and things like that. I feel like if a person is credited, acknowledged, you know, compensated, involved in the process, you know, of their intellectual properties, how it's being used, that's not appropriation. You know, so I believe that these things are positive. Truthfully.
And I think what you just said at the end is very key, because I think there's always these conversations about appropriation, appreciation. But I do agree with what you're saying there, because I think I always come from it from a business aspect, and I understand the business aspect of why that collaboration is necessary from the artists themselves, but also from the label and the person backing it. And that point that you made there was very important. As long as there is credit, you know, the revenue splits are being shared as agreed, and that, you know, the other artist fan base is also being drawn into the conversation. I think that's always key, because I think whenever you're on kind of social media and Twitter, people never think about those type of aspects. But anyone, Meji, Edith, Christian, you want to add to this?
I mean, I think You know, as long as the music is good as well.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? That's when you know
Has to be sweet.
when you feel that have we been appropriated or not. You know, and that's how I feel anyway. But I mean, I agree with Poe. You know, it's a cultural exchange. You know, I'm so happy that our culture is being able to be transported to the world in that way. You know, these big collaborations. You know, they shine more light. They allow our industry to grow, and more people to invest like really in our business and what we do, and allowing us to make better videos, artists to spend more time investing in their craft, and just everything just gets bigger and bigger. So with Afrobeats going as far as it's going, I think it's a definitely like an amazing thing, to be honest. Yeah.
Edith?
I was just going to add that I think it's good in the sense that yesterday's price is not today's price of your artist. I mean, if you have an artist that started out back in, I don't know, 2012, and they've been featured on, I don't know, Justin Bieber or whatever, that person is now a headliner on a main stage festival in America, a headliner, and they're getting paid in dollars and pounds and whatever, and people are actually appreciating them as an artist without a feature. So I think, like they said, it's as long as it's a healthy balance, people are now recognizing Africa as not just, oh, let's jump on this bandwagon. People are recognizing artists as this is a standalone artist.
And people, I mean, I think people still wanted to jump on the bandwagon, but the thing what's I think really interesting is that like our African artists, they're bigger than a lot of UK artists. They can travel the world and tour in many different places, thanks to diaspora and thanks, to the sound as well. And which is quite crazy. That, same artists in the UK that are, quite huge. They can't do the same things, they can't go to the same places. They can't sell out Madison Square Garden, things like that. You know what I mean? So that says a lot for, for the music and where it's going and how it's growing.
I think that's a good point in terms of as Africans even having pride in our artists. Exactly what you said there, Meji, that actually you could go to a random city in New York now and hear Wizkid being played, but it's true you may not hear UK artists. And I think we need to take a lot of pride in that as Africans, that, our household names are moving around. And Christian, do you want to add to?
No, I fully agree. I think, behind the scenes as well, when you have that kind of sense of collaboration too, aside from the artists, it's just like people also recognizing the likes of like Meji, like the quality that's being crafted with regard to like the art in itself, and how they can go on and work with other mainstream artists and build their kind of portfolio the other way. So it's great for the people behind the scenes to get more of the light, because if a good project does really well and the concepts all come together, from like videos to like styling, etc., those are all the other elements where I think people will looking for new fresh ideas and new impetus to kind of bring into even the mainstream artists which we typically hear.
Yeah, so now we're going to focus specifically on videos and Meji and Edith, and just kind of talking about the creative process. So Eva can answer, Meji or Edith. How do you usually interact with artists in determining and agreeing a treatment for a video?
I mean, also Poe can also get involved on this too.
Yes,
I mean, it's it ranges, sometimes, rarely. I mean, in the UK, you'll get hit up by the label, but I always feel that, like, in America as well, but I always feel that, that having a personal relationship and, building that out, people being able to reach out to you, is how it normally starts, and then sometimes the artist comes to you and asks, just do your thing, here's a song, whatever you want, which is, beautiful. Other times, they have an idea and, you can craft that together. So I think the best thing, with the treatment is, being collaborative in the process. Somebody like Poe, he's very creative himself. You can see that in his visuals, and how they come about. So I know that, you're very involved in the treatment process.
100%. 100%. I think that that was one of my favorite parts. One of my favorite parts of making music is the visuals. I'm a very visual artist. I feel like my music needs visuals to carry it further, Because like, look at it like this. The music is one medium. The music video is a totally different medium of telling a story, right? Everything that I'm saying in the song, I can represent it in a completely different way in the music video. So it's exciting to me, and I really lean into that tool. One of my favorite things when you talk about music directors and artists is when there's this meme, and the director is like, "What's your budget?" The artist is, "What's your rate?" And it's a catch-22, it's an impasse. But the truth is, a lot of times, you have an idea, the director comes with something, and he has his own idea, and you guys flesh out something really amazing. Or sometimes, for instance, the running video with Director K came with the concept and said, "This is what I want to do." For the Know You video, I had a song in 2020 called Know You, and K and I riffed off that. Yeah, riffed off the ideas of how we can sell this concept to people, and then working with a director that gives you a lot of creative space is also amazing. So it really ranges. I like how it is with me. I am involved. I love to be involved in my aesthetic and my videos.
I think that's the best when the artists are involved as well, because then they bring the commitment on the day of the shoot, and if they're not involved, they can come to the shoot and just be like, what's this? So what am I doing? I'm not involved, or I don't want to do that scene, and then everything that you've planned has just had something thrown into it.
I've actually had that.
It's the worst.
I've had that here. I won't say the artist. I've had his representatives come to the meeting and say, "This is what the artist wants." They sent the track. We had a meeting. The management came. This is what we want. I said, "Shouldn't the artist be here?" They're like, "No, he's doing his thing. Shot the video. We don't like it." Wow. I said, don't like it. So I think, to be honest, when an artist is more invested in the video or invested in the treatment or the idea, then it's, like you said, the energy they bring, the ideas they bring on the day is amazing. If they're not invested, it's really not going to work. It can work,
it could work, but it's not going to be what it could be.
It's not the same.
What it could be.
Yeah. Or you do have some artists that are like, whatever you bring is fine, or give us a treatment, go through the treatment. I mean, some artists get loads of treatments. They may send ideas or to so many different directors, and they may pick the best one they want.
That's bad practice. Don't do that.
But they do it.
Actually, I want to ask.
They do it.
What is how do you think it should be? Like, what do you think the rule of thumb should be? Like, okay, okay, I have a song, I want to put out the music video, and I'm not sure who I want to direct. Usually, I have a small, very tiny short list. Usually, it doesn't go more than 2 directors. So, do I ask them individually, or it should be I decide I want this person, and whatever treatment they give me, I tweak it and go with that one person? Or it's okay to say, hey, you give me a treatment, you give me a treatment, let me see which one I prefer.
I think it's okay to have choice, actually. There's a lot of great creatives, and you're not limited to do anything. But I think what they did in the UK is there'd be a commissioner who would now get 10 directors writing treatments and throw maybe 7 of them in the bin, show the artist 3. You know what I mean? And then what happens with directors who write treatments for free, they'll be sitting there writing back to back to back to back to back, maybe 10, 20 treatments. I've done this. That's why I know, you know what I mean? And then you realize, oh my goodness, like I could have spent that time doing something else. Yeah, I'm a mug, because the artist is not even seeing it. So all this, your great idea. I have people message me, they email me ideas, like, yo man, I really want this artist to see this video, and I don't know that they're never gonna, it's just, you're like blowing steam. It's the worst. Yeah. So I don't think artists should do that.
If I can take those ideas that you've thrown away and shoot them.
Yeah. Well, so I think artists should just, choose your guy. Because I mean, if you pay attention and you really know your aesthetic and what you want to do, between the people that you'll find the right person. Yeah.
And then leading on from that, who would you say is an artist that you kind of have the greatest creative synergy with? You can say Poe because he's here.
No, I want to pick for him. I feel like I know who it is, but Meji, go ahead.
I want to hear you pick.
I think it's Malik. I really do. I think it is. I'm leaning towards that.
In the back of my head, originally, I think obviously me and Malik have done a lot. Like, we did Control together. We did Bing Collins together. We did what was that one? Like Lost in the World / something, and we did the Ike's video. We did a lot of videos together actually, and you know, he gave a lot of creative freedom. He's a super creative guy as well. You know, he knows what he wants to do. So yeah, you know, I think Malik is a good answer. You know, I also, you know, I think me and Berna have done a lot of really great stuff. You know, I love the videos I've done with him actually. You know.
Which videos specifically?
Yeah, I did Monsters You Made. I really love that video. Real Life with Stormzy. You know, that one's like kind of like a London story. I feel that video. Then you know, there's Pull Up. There's a lot of videos we've done. Way Too Big.
Pull
you know,
Up.
a lot of nice videos I've done with Berna.
All right, we
So,
see you.
Yeah. But obviously Wiz as well. You know, me and Wiz have a long relationship, so a lot of good artists.
Ginger.
Yeah, Ginger.
Ginger is hot. Oh, dang. I'm a big fan. You
I was
guys
gonna
can
say,
tell I'm a
Poe is
big
your
fan.
biggest fan, right?
I'm a big fan. Nah,
I'm
the
a fan as
Ginger
well.
video, I was like, what?
Yeah, that was insane.
Yeah, that was fun.
They were playing Ayo with diamonds or something.
Yeah,
Are you guys?
yeah.
Come on, man. Nah, they shot some sick videos.
It was good time.
Yeah.
And then kind
Thank
of
you.
moving more into like the theme of the conversation that we're gonna have is, are there any current myths that you're trying to debunk via your videos? And same to you as well, Poe. And also with your book as well, Christian, do feel free to add in. Are there any myths or any narratives or just anything that you're trying to debunk with your creative vision and what you produce?
I'm going to say, personally, I think it's about just being real with your expression. I don't think that if I work with an artist or company or whatever, I'm trying to put out a particular image. I think it's more about being real and true to the artist or the company or whatever it is you're trying to put out there. So my example would be if you're trying to get an influencer to influence your brand and that person has nothing to do with that type of lifestyle. So it's like having a health brand and you're getting a bigger person or whatever it is that is away from that brand to push out your brand. It doesn't make sense. So if I work with an artist, what's your image? What do you stand for? What are we trying to put together and push out? There's not literally a quote unquote thing, but I think it's just keeping it real and pushing the envelope, not allowing, you know, yes, it's good to take from here and take from there, but I think being authentic, a good idea goes a long way. And every time a video comes out, everyone's like, oh, I could have done that. Why didn't I think of that? That was sick. So I think it's just always pushing the bar.
Authenticity.
Authenticity.
Meji, Poe, Christian?
I think me from a writing perspective, I think I don't know if it's like a byproduct of like maybe social media or kind of Instagram culture, etc. But it's just knowing how to be critical, but in a really like constructive way, so people get that honest feedback and essentially help subculture and movements kind of grow. I think the worst thing we can do sometimes is to like always be like yes merchants and liking everything, but then we can't really explain the substance as to why. We can say it's surface level in terms of liking through like a like or something, but when it comes to really digesting why we love the musical elements of it, I think sometimes it's quite hard with regard to the music because it feels like it's still quite fresh and nobody wants to tread in anyone's toes, but it's just a case of just like being honest and, you know, allowing that artist and yourself to reach a place where, you know, further along in their career, they'll be able to reach a level of kind of maturity with how they're approaching, as you say, other music videos, maybe working with other artists where it might have seemed like completely away from their kind of realm, but you find that kind of synergy or through a theme or through something in your lyricism which allows your honesty to come through. So I think that's one thing I find a lot with writing, and I think at the moment where it's quite hard for, you know, if it looks like you drag someone, like everyone's going to jump on you for things when, in honesty, sometimes maybe you could have articulated a bit better or find another way to kind of give that kind of feedback in another way.
We're too sensitive. Let's keep it real. You can't say anything now without you hating, or you can't have an opinion without somebody dragging you. That's my issue right now.
And to kind of put the question another way, is like, you know, when people would say to Africa, they don't show you. It's kind of like, what's the Africa that you're trying to show the world?
I think that like we are everything. You know, I think there's an image that people think, you know, that we see. You know, it's repeated in the media often. I'm not saying like not even like a poor image of Africa, because it's not even that. It's not even that. We moved from that. You know what I mean? It's another image. You know, I'm not gonna say like exactly what it is, but I feel like I know what it is when I see it. And then you know, and I'm not necessarily trying to move away from that, but I'm just trying to show that we are also more than that. You know, in my work and the things I do, my own experiences. You know, I'm like a diaspora Nigerian as well. You know, I grew up here. I grew up in America. You know, family is Nigerian, and you know, so my experience is a little bit different to somebody else. You know, who grew up there from birth. So you know, I'm trying to show that authentic viewpoint, perspective through my work. You know, to the world, and yeah, you know, and I think it's beautiful. You know, it's cool. I enjoy it. You know, that's what I like to do.
Edith said authenticity, and I think that's important. Every song, at least for me, there's a different reason why I'm making that song, and a different part of being an African man or Nigerian man or somebody that lives in Lagos is I tap into that to in the visual, you know. So trying to capture it as best as possible. One of my favorite videos that I've ever shot is a song called Jaye. And what we were trying to do was to show the creativity that exists in Lagos, and just from different perspectives, and showing the work, showing the commitment required to be somebody that creates anything, not just in Nigeria, but specifically in Lagos, because there's so many challenges. You know, we had this shot where there's a guy he's going to the boxing gym, but it shows when he's leaving Makoko and going in a canoe to get to his boxing gym. But you know, just to show that and let it be that. And I just want to capture where I'm from. I want to capture who I am. I want to give people that reality, and it might inform them about themselves or about the space, and they're curious to know more. I'm trying to shape it by showing it, rather than saying think of it this way. At least in my own in my own small way. And you asked about debunking things. One of the things I definitely do want to debunk for a lot of artists is that your music videos, you really can think of them in so many ways. I have two visuals for the song Feeling, and one is a music video, the other one is a lyric video.
Oh, you're standing still.
Yeah. There was no cut. It was just a long take.
I love that one.
You see, it's crazy to me because I thought that was ridiculous. I thought when we put it, I was like, man, we are really taking the piss. They're going to come for us now. But the minute that worked and it has more views than the actual music video, I was like, that shouldn't happen, because now I do whatever. There's my lyric video. There's one where I'm backing the camera the whole time. I really think you can create what it is you want to see, and it will be fine. I think that's an important thing to tell artists, is that big, don't get me wrong, sometimes you need that big budget music video, but other times tap into what is essential and show that.
Yeah, I think, and you're 100% right on that, because you know, I've been noticing, you know, those visuals, your lyric videos, you know, that one where the feeling one, but there's another one, there's an aesthetic that you have, you know, for each of them.
One, yeah.
Yeah.
Long takes, not necessarily performing to the camera, and just enjoying the song in some interesting fashion. Yeah.
And I think, you know, you're like, if more artists do take that approach and just be more creative and understand that, you know, we can be more creative with our visuals. You know, there was a certain way that you had to approach a Nigerian music video back, you know, in 2000, maybe like 14 or 15. You know, like almost ingredients that you have to have. If you don't have those in there, like, they're not gonna love it. You know what I mean? And I think we're slowly breaking away from that. You know, the directors are having this freedom to be more creative. The audience is more receptive. And so, again, more artists should do that. Yeah.
And if you were given a kind of Hype Williams £1 million budget, what artist would you like to shoot that video for? Any artist.
Yeah, I mean, the artist that allows me to do what I need to do. You know what I mean? I think that's the best thing.
No, I want a name.
Collaboration.
I want a name.
Does it have to be a Nigerian artist?
There's no name.
Any.
There's no
Dead
name.
or alive, global, just any artist, yeah. If you had £1 million, you know those budgets that we used to hear about back in the early 2090s. That Hype Williams, Missy budget. Who would you shoot a video?
I'll do a video for Fela. Or Busta.
I hear that.
You know, I got
I
it.
hear
That'll be
that.
a nice one.
Edith?
Me, I'm a Nas fan. So
Okay.
I'll shoot for Nas.
No.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll shoot for Nas.
Okay. And then specifically moving on to Edith is where, because you threw some trivia, I was like, quick trivia. Me and Edith met in Ghana, and we lived in Ghana together in 2016 and kind of fought in the trenches before I moved into music, actually. So, yeah, we kind of go way back. But as a woman, what perspective would you like to share with the world around the role and impact of African women through music videos?
I
It's
think
interesting because before you answer the question,
Yeah.
I think the first video I ever watched that you did was a Stoneboy video.
yeah, 2016.
And the girl was very powerful. Like she
Yeah,
was very
yeah.
boss lady through the whole video.
so
And I
so
remember being like, that's my friend.
so backstory to that video. When I moved to Ghana end of 2015, I moved to Ghana because of production to pursue videos. You would know videos, commercials. That was the first music video I shot in Ghana, and that was in January 2016. When I arrived on set, they thought I was the model. So that was already like, they were like, but you're a woman, you're pretty, like, why are you not the model? And I was like, I'm the director, yeah. And they were completely shocked. They're like, you're not the producer. I'm like, I'm the director. So when they actually saw me on set, so the thing is, when I'm on set, my face is hard. I'm very, and people think I'm angry, but I'm just thinking about my shots, thinking about the time, thinking about sunlight and sunset and all these other factors. So when they saw me on set and I was actually being professional, they were kind of like, oh wow, she actually knows what she's doing. She's actually not here to play or to flirt or whatever they thought I was there to do. And when we actually handed over the video, Stoneboy was impressed. I mean, he was actually amazing to work with. He's actually one of the people that I feel, him and Pato are one of two people. Sorry, Pato. we haven't worked together yet.
That's
Yeah,
so cool.
yeah.
It's
But
icy.
yeah, he was a really, really cool guy to work with. And I think some of the perceptions of women in video or women directors is sometimes maybe we're not serious, or maybe, you know, we have attitude. So if you're saying to me that, oh, you thought I was the producer or the you know, whatever, and I'm saying no, I'm not. Me saying I'm not is like, you want to fight. No, I don't want to fight. I actually want to do the job that I'm here to do. But I think that's slowly changing, actually. That was 2016 and this is now, and you have way more women directing and being, you know, behind the scenes. And I think there's less of an urge to want to be in front of the scenes for a lot of women now. Like back then there was loads of video girls, and you know, women were only at the front and doing makeup. There was a video I did in London and it was literally myself and the models. Those were the only females on set, and everybody else was male. But yeah, I think it's slowly changing.
It's funny because I have another story like you as well. When before I moved into music, and I had met Easy
Yep.
at dinner when I was living in Ghana. I remember when I was shutting back and forth, and then I went to a dinner, and that's when me and Easy decided to work together. And then I flew back to Ghana, and I had one of my friends call me, and she was like, "Oh, I'm trying to cast for this video, and I really can't find a girl with the aesthetic that I need. So can you do a video?" And I was like, "Hey, I'm not a video girl." And I was like, "What video?" She was like, "Easy." I said, "Oh, I definitely can't do that video." And it's really weird because even at that time as a professional, you're really trying to stay away from that image of this is all that women are meant to be. Because for me, again, it was weird to say I'm a lawyer and I'm in music. And so, yeah, it's really interesting to see the shift in black women in music and not just being the video girls. Because I think for years people just always thought,
I think to be honest, it's more important for me. I focus on doing the work as opposed to, oh, I'm a female director, I'm a female this, I'm a female that. I just want to come and do the work, and that's it. I'm a person that directs that happens to be a woman. I'm a person that produces that happens to be a woman. I don't let my gender be the narrative or kind of, you know, the talking point. I just come do the work and keep it moving, you know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing more female directors step into the fold. Again, it's amazing because we get more perspectives on different things, you know, on how they approach the visual sensitivities, decision making, and just perspective. I think that's the most important thing. And you know, I'm seeing, you know, Edith leading the way. We have, you know, Bola over here. You know,
We have Uche in the crowd, by the
writing
way.
as
She's the
well,
director, yellow
you know.
cap. Yes.
Uche, you know, there's a lot of you
Yeah,
know,
Dahlia,
black female
there's Dahlia
creatives.
Diaz now.
Yeah, and they're you know, you just also have to look for them as well, you know, because they're not given the same spotlight, and you know, hopefully more and more will keep, you know, pushing. I mean, we're JM Films, you know, my company, we're always looking for female directors, you know, who have something to say, you know, have something to give. So, you know, I think the door is open, especially now more than ever. So definitely step
Is
into
it a
the
front
fold.
door, back door, what side door?
It's front door, back door, side
Okay.
door. Everybody, you know, however you do it, you know what I mean? Like however you make it work, because like this industry doesn't really have a front door, or you know, it doesn't have a front door. I feel like a lot of people have no idea where to start, you know. So you can start with an email.
And then now we're moving on to a conversation with Poe. So you got to look at me, Poe.
I got you.
So do you know, it's interesting because I already see from the drip that you take representing Africa seriously. You know, wearing daily paper and wearing, you know, an African brand. But do you feel that you have a responsibility to represent Nigeria and Africa as an artist?
I've always known that. I've always known that my role, when you start to make music, you do it because you love it. It's a passion, strong within you. And you don't realize that you are going to become, at times, an ambassador, sometimes an advocate, sometimes an educator. You know, you really don't realize all of these things until you step into that role. And I do know now that definitely I'm an ambassador for so many things. You know, one of those things is, yeah, my country, my culture, style, everything, you know. And it's funny, it's not like I must wear an African. It's dope. It's just that simple. You know, I look in the wardrobe, I'm like, oh, I'm definitely going to rock the daily paper today, or the waffles and cream, or the severe nature, or the gum spot. Like, it's easy. It's this simple decision for me, you know? And so I'm proud of that. And I say it in my songs, everything that's on me is Nigerian made, except for the dollars, though. So we're not playing on that one. Yes. Yeah.
And then what stories or messages have you tried to convey today? I mean, you already discussed earlier in your video about, was it Jai?
Jai.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So what messages do you try to convey that relate to your artistry and subject matter of the song?
You know, for me, a lot of the music is really, especially because as a rap artist, and I say artist because rap is one thing. Rap has a lot of baggage in Nigeria, but the artist means I'll create a song. My medium of expression is rap. So because of that, there's a tendency to always have meaning, substance, lyricism, all of those kind of things. Feeling is a good example. Feeling and running. Because Feeling is a nice feel-good song. But there's something that he's saying in the song. It's like, you know, things are nice, but they've been bad. They've been bad. Don't bring your energy around here to spoil what I'm doing. The things have been bad, but right now I feel good. And finding a way to represent that in a music video, so we chose, and I really think that I gave a music video that a lot of people they felt somehow, because they wanted to see flexing, champagne, jet skis, but we gave them kids feeling good, because that's something that we felt when we were young and watching music videos. And there's a shot that literally is Diddy and Mace, you know, me and Buju, because that's what we used to watch when we were younger, and we really aspired to be like, you know. So it's to figure out different ways to tap into the essence of the song and display it in a way that people may or may not expect. And sometimes you get amazing results, other times you get head-scratching results. And you know, I'm a rapper that comes from Nigeria, making music. I'm taking a risk every day. So why not with my music videos, you know? So that's
And
that's
so
how I see
what's
it.
the head scratch moment? What
I
head
think
scratch
that
moment
I
have you
really
had
feel
today?
like when I dropped the Feeling music video, I feel like people really wanted to see flexing and everything like that. We gave them something completely different, and I felt like some people were scratching their heads at that. We got a lot of feedback saying, so where is the real video? It's like, nah, this is the video, you know. But
Yes, the kids playing.
the kids, yeah. So I thought it was cool, you know. But I'm there for that. I'm there
See,
for those risks.
What you said earlier, though, you know, there's something that we always say is like, you know, the music comes first. So as long as it's a banger, that's the first thing, and then the video again is an extension. It brings it extra life, takes people somewhere else. That's what you should be aiming to do with your music video, And like you said, sometimes it lands, sometimes it doesn't, but that's the risk you take.
That's the risk. That's the risk to take, and I'm happy to take that risk.
I think it's interesting whenever people have a preconceived notion of how a video is going to be. Because I think I had the same head scratch moment when, do you remember when Wiz and Pato dropped the This Kind Love video? And it was just kids.
Yeah.
It was like these two kids acting like them. And at first I was like, what's going on here? And then I was like, actually, it's genius.
Yeah.
So I think you always have those moments when you're like, actually, that's quite genius.
Yeah.
Because you're seeing how the person's thinking outside of the box.
Here's the thing, and here's the truth. To tell you guys, the truth is that, and I mean, the video is dope. Like, fuck it, I like it, but I understand. But this is what like people are paying, artists are paying. Say there's a feature, right? They're like, yo, you need to show my face. I need to see my face in like the first like couple of seconds. I want to see me standing next to the feature, and us rapping side by side together, and that's what they feel that is the and not saying that that's not the value. There's a lot of value in that, but the fans often want to see the artist. They want to see the artist like right in front, like that's what excites them. So especially since our like the age of our music video industry and like the quality of our music videos is young, so the viewer's perception, what they understand and what they like is kind of like not like super. It's not like it is over here in the sense of how creative you can be with your music videos. The viewer has a more of like let's say like a genuine view, like, oh, I just really want to see my favorite artist singing my favorite song, and that's it. So then that's where there's that gray area of, okay, are we being too creative? Is this gonna fly or is it not gonna fly? And then you have to choose that, as per your audience as a director.
I think that's such a major point that Meiji is bringing up. Is sometimes it's like you want to shoot a video, you have this great idea, but you're like, will it translate? That is definitely something that we deal with all the time, because we want people to like it. At the same time, we want to kind of push the boundary a little bit, and I feel like that is I'm interested to see how artists, directors continue to operate in that space. That is a real thing coming out of Africa, really, truly.
But it's not just Africa, it's everywhere as well, because like, in America, some videos you just have performance videos, and as a director, sometimes when you get hit up and they just say, oh, I just want a performance video, I just want to be rapping with him, you feel a bit uninspired, but
I think we're getting back to that time of sometimes less is more. I mean, sometimes it's not always about your girls shaking the car, moving up and down, Cristal all over the body. I mean, Cristal's in the past, but I think people are.
The best videos.
I mean, people are moving away from that. I mean, I had an artist here, and his first video, he wanted us to hire out a car that was £800. This was a while back, and I was like, "It's your first video. No one's gonna believe you. Like, this is not your lifestyle." And he's like, "No, but I must." And I'm thinking, this is your first video. It's better to be authentic with your first video. Let people get to know who you are as an artist, as opposed to, if you're gonna peak now, what's next? The Maybach. So I think sometimes you have to kind of grow there, and I think there will always be space. There will always be a market for bum shaking and all those kind of videos. They'll always be there. They'll always be there. But I think sometimes less is more, man. Sometimes it could just be a lyric video, could be a performance video, but yeah, that's my 2 cents.
And then Poe, what narratives around your cultural identity or Nigeria do you look forward to shaping in the future?
Oh, that's a very broad question. Yikes.
You come back.
Yes, I have to think about that.
I'll
the
pose the
future.
same question to Meji and Edith.
In the future.
Sorry. Let me read it properly. What narratives around your cultural identity or country of origin do you look forward to shaping in the future?
I have an answer. I have an answer for that. It's funny. It's not even something that I want to shape outwardly. It is also inward as well. I want Nigerians within Nigeria, outside of Nigeria, the government, whoever, everyone, to know that what we're doing in this creative space, entertainment, music, is so significant to the GDP of the country, to the profile of the country, to all of that, that it needs to be taken seriously. You know, entertainment and tech. You know, they need to understand the new oil is here. You know, the new industry is here. It's time. If there was time to diversify, it's now. I really want them to see the relevance of that, because creating in Nigeria can be a hostile environment for creativity, because ask Meji what it's like to shoot a music video in Lagos. Maybe if he wants to go to Lagos Island, it's so anemic to that creativity that we need to recognize its huge importance in just giving to the country. And in fact, all young people, that's really what they're looking at. That's what is driving them, you know. And how can we really harness it and show it as the legitimate industry and space that it is? That is something that I will be very proud to continue to champion, you know, going forward.
And you answered this question earlier, but you need to answer it for yourself now, which is which director, producer, or just production team have you had the greatest creative solution with? And you can't say Meji.
You know, well,
Meji, your default, but he can't say it.
A big shout out to Jem, because they really early in my career, like when I did Man Already with when I just joined Maven and I didn't really know what it was I wanted to achieve, you know, visually. You know, I remember I shot a video with them, and it was Nelson. Nelson was directing that video, but Meji popped in to say what's up, and he was there on the side. Energy, and yeah,
You had to turn it up.
Yeah. You know, but as
So can I interrupt? When Meji's on set, he's not like this. He can be quite scary.
Yo, he's
like,
hype. He's intense. He's super intense. And then from there, you know, it gives you a lot of confidence in terms of the people you work with. But I've started to develop a very powerful connection with a group of guys called Loup-garou, which means werewolf in French. It's such an odd name. But we've shot some really good videos. We shot the Jaye video together. We shot Feeling together. We've shot Afro Jigger together. I just put out a new song called Big Energy today, midnight. Yeah, exactly.
Stream it, guys, stream it.
Yeah, definitely go check
Make
that out.
it go platinum tonight.
Yeah, and no, for real, make it go platinum. and if I do shoot the video, it's likely that it's going to be them as well, because I've now found a group of people that, aside from wanting to shoot music videos, they're really invested in my brand and in communicating that brand and the elements of that brand to whomever is watching. And so when you find that kind of connection, it might not be every music video, but the ones you do with them really will shift things. If I got $1 million, like a Hype Williams budget, I will most likely say to them, hey, here's our chance. Let's do something. You know what I'm saying?
You see that? No, that's real, because a lot of people, they get that budget, they're gonna just go.
They go to Hype
elsewhere,
Williams.
you know.
They
They go to Hype Williams, yeah, and you know, it's better to grow with. It's better to grow with an artist. You know, create together, sit down, you know, together, and just make something amazing. It just is. That's the best feeling. And then, you know, obviously, once you get to a level where you can make money doing that together, then it's even better. So yeah, I mean, definitely better to stick to your guy.
Yeah, and I think, do you know what? I think I remember back in the day when everyone was going to Clarence, and just remember it, and just actually appreciating all the artists going to him, even though we all knew, you know, how much it cost just to have Clarence direct your video. But I really appreciate that, you know, Nigerian artists being very dedicated and you know, and always going to Clarence. And I think that push kind of his budget, what his videos look like, and just his name as well.
I mean, Clarence changed the game. He really changed the game. Like, what he did was incredible, you know, and he opened the doors, you know, and he showed that we could make quality music videos in Nigeria, you know. I mean, and a lot of people were flying to South Africa for that. They were going elsewhere, come to the UK. And Clarence was doing it, you know, from there at incredibly high rate and incredibly high quality, you know. I'm always, you know, in admiration of him, for sure.
But that goes back to what you asked about before. And I think, like Post said, there's so many different people in Nigeria now that can shoot your video at a level that is a Clarence Peter level. You don't have to go to Clarence Peters. You can, but there's so many different people doing it now. And I think my thing would be to protect those people because everyone is putting so much work against the odds. We have the things that we're dealing with in Nigeria to shoot a video or to shoot a series, whatever it is ridiculous. We're dealing with, I don't even need to start listing all the things that you're dealing with to shoot a video, and and you see the video and it's so creative. It looks so good, but you never see what happens behind the scenes. So as Poe said, like, if we take this industry very seriously in Nigeria and have like a proper backing, proper support, we need to protect these individuals. Like, the creatives need to be backed. They need protection. Like,
Yeah,
when I say protection, I'm talking like a guild, not just like,
You're like 300% right, because even in the UK, music video directors, most of them don't only do music videos. They can barely survive off that. So I know in Nigeria, like, we shoot all the time, and the difficulty level is incredibly high. And most people, the budgets aren't getting bigger, the naira is depreciating. There's a lot of things that are happening, that are just not in your favor. So for somebody now to be, I want to be a music video director, I want to be a spokesperson, I want to be a DP, a cameraman, and stay within the industry and actually build a career and a life off it, that's kind of what Poe was alluding to, or exactly what he was alluding to. Is what we need to see happen to get this industry, so people can actually do that, so we can have better professionals in every position across the board, and just continue growing. So it's a thing that needs to happen.
And at this point, I'm going to open it up to the audience. So if anyone has a question, let me know. I'll try my best to bring the mic to you. If not, to shout. Anyone's got a question? Yeah, sure. 1 second. Let me see if I can. Will it work? Yes.
Just to follow up on speaking about protecting creatives back home in Nigeria. I mean, I feel like that's something that if the governments were upright about, they would be doing, in terms of even investments, like investing in the industry, tech and entertainment. But then, as that is not happening right now, is that like, as creatives, or like, as creatives that you have passed different levels, different phases in your careers, are there like any structures that could be created for the ones that are coming up right now? Like trying to do it our own selves now and leaving the government out of it. Can we like create some kind of structure to protect like the young guys coming up, either like video directing, rapping, music, styling, whatever you might have as a creative, and that kind of stuff?
Thank you.
I mean, I think, unfortunately, right now I can only speak from my own perspective. We're trying to, things are getting harder kind of in Nigeria, but we're trying to build those structures. The companies that we create, we try to, always feed new talent. There's another company in Nigeria, Prior Gold Pictures. It's a generation like JM Films and Director K collaborated. We created Prior Gold Pictures, and Prior Gold is now its own company. It has its own directors. It has shoots every week, and it's feeding the industry in its own way. And I think it's on us to create these structures. We're looking to build a new studio and whatnot, and a lot of structures that we're trying to put in place to have places for this talent to live. And more and more of it is happening, obviously with Maven, the way it's set up. I think it even has an academy, and it's just, Maven's really setting a standard
as well.
Maven has directors, has everything. It's really setting a standard for, so again, it's up to us to build our own structures right now until, the government actually does, see what we're doing and, give the funding necessary. Yeah.
I think one of the answers as well is, the easiest answer is, as us Africans like to say, is patronize. Patronize the creatives in your country, right? So as Poe was saying amazingly earlier, if he got £1 million, he's not going to go and run to a Hype Williams. He's going to work with the people he's already worked with. I think maybe that is also sometimes the issue when you're a growing artist or creative. Even just as an artist, maybe you're using your friend to produce beats, and you're maybe paying him the equivalent of £100. But then once you kind of make up, you're going to, you want to go to the Pharrells and the Timbalands, which is not bad, but why not put that money back into those people that you came up with? And I'd give you an example. I style an ex-NBA player now, and we've made the ethos of our collaboration and how we work is I only work with African designers. And that is a headache because I live in London, he lives in Miami, and sometimes he's around the place, and I work with designers in Ivory Coast or Nigeria. So I work with Orange Culture in Nigeria and Iron Official in Nigeria. Kente Gentlemen in I think they're in Ivory Coast, Mwami in Senegal, for example, and that's a headache because he doesn't like to get measurements done, and sometimes their measurements may be 6 months old. So I'm taking the risk of when it gets to Miami, are they going to fit? Do we have to find somebody else? But because we have a commitment of putting money back into the African continent and designers there, it's just the risk that I have to take, and it's just the stress that I have to take. So for example, one time, I was actually in Zanzibar on holiday, and he was in Miami, and he sends me a text at 4 a.m. saying we have a problem. What's the problem? And this is Wednesday. He goes, I have an award show on Sunday in London. The easiest thing could have been pick someone in London, but I said I'm sticking to our ethos, and I called an official and said, can you make me a suit within 2 days? And he had a tailor stay up for 48 hours to make the suit. One of my friends was flying back from Lagos, and she jumped on a plane with the suit, and then we ran to another African tailor about an hour away from where he was to make sure that the suit was done. So I think when you have a commitment to putting money back into the continent, you do that no matter how annoying that may be. You know, I cut my holiday short in Zanzibar to fly back, but our commitment is that we put money back into the continent. Yeah, but that's the commitment that we have to have, you know, and I'd say that because I think white people have that personal commitment to themselves.
One
right?
thing I found is
and we
that
need to have that.
I found that like Nigerians generally, even though we complain about each other all the time, like around the world, like, oh, you know, they're giving us headache, this and that they always tend to want to work with other Nigerians regardless. And I think it's because we understand each other's madness and each other's headache. Honestly, because it's never straightforward. Yeah, the process is never straightforward. Money hasn't come yet, or it's on the way. You know, these things.
coming.
Yeah, it's
I've gone
coming,
to
and
the
you know,
bank.
or and then you have to now.
This payment is coming. It's
Yeah.
London.
And then you're now fronting the money for the video or something like that. And then, you know, there's a lot of things that happen, but we tend to always, you know, make it work and love working with each other. And I think it's a beautiful thing because that's what I've found. I haven't really seen too many artists since I've even been involved, like really over collaborating outside of Nigerian directors or African directors. So it's beautiful. It's in the house. Yeah.
Yeah, and Afro, I think we all need to understand what Afrobeats has done, right, in terms of building the infrastructure. Because of Afrobeats, I can be a music lawyer. Because of Afrobeats, Edith is a producer. Because of Afrobeats, Meji's a director. Because of Afrobeats, somebody else is a makeup artist. Because of Afrobeats, somebody else. You know, it's created so many professions for us that there's no excuse for you to say that you can't go to another black person. You know, there's black accountants, there's black lawyers, there's African stylists, there's makeup artists, there's hairstylists, there's directors, there's literally even the most mundane thing that you can think of now exists, or there's a black person that's been able to go do that because of Afrobeats. So I think it's important for us to all kind of understand that, and even just buy your book to even understand how that came about. So, you know, shamelessly plug in your book.
So yeah, for me, I think it's just like the main basis of the book was looking at a lot of kind of political events. Some of them may be quite mundane, some of them really impactful, and how they had an impact on culture, for instance. So looking at how instruments, you know, traditionally from like Afrobeat and highlife were used as a main kind of core for an expression through song, creating albums, etc. And then seeing by migrating and maybe trying to be more mobile, moving to like another class and going to new environments essentially, and meeting people who have maybe in Europe or US, and how they kind of, how you use your own identity, but how you kind of approach technology in a new way. So in the book, for instance, I talk about bugger high life. That's a genre in like the late 70s, early 80s from Ghana. And it's probably like one of the most obscure kind of angles in terms of what people don't know a lot about the music, but for me it's a very important time because it comes off the back of an independence and Kwame Nkrumah being overthrown, and then Ghana moving into like a military government, and then off the back of that, you know, nighttime curfews come in, so essentially killing live music, and on top of that as well, importing tax on instruments is like very, very heavy. So a lot of the artists from the kind of high life Afrobeat scene in Ghana, their livelihoods were like killed. So many of them went to seek political asylum through lax immigration laws in Germany, in Europe as well. And doing that, they meet German producers or German people who have like high spec musical technology in these kind of music studios. So you can only imagine, you know, where before they used to be playing instruments either through just the drums or on the kind of keyboard, well, moving from playing like drums or playing music on like brass instruments. So like the brass instrument now becomes maybe like a brass synth, and then when the drums moves like a drum machine, and then the music in terms of expression at the time is like a lot of looking toward African American music where it's like funk and soul. And for me, it was like a meld of like kind of high life within that, but more kind of from like probably more like a disco kind of boogie angle, and in itself representing as a soundtrack what it means to be black in a contemporary sense, but away from home, and how you use music to attach yourself to this sense of home and identity. So I guess for me, it was looking at those elements, you know, through the instruments you use, through the, you know, the events that might befall you, but always trying to find a way through culture to reinvigorate the sense of where you are. So throughout the whole book, that's the kind of medium in which I try to tell and connect the dots from past to present.
Yeah, I mean, I would say most of the time the artist probably wins that battle, but as a director, you know, you just have to be able to guide their eye, and they should also trust you beforehand. Again, that's why the treatment process is so important. And you know, I like to put myself, you know, I also edit too a lot of the times, maybe not everything, but most of the time. So I started off editing everything, but anyways. When when you edit, you really need to put yourself in the artist's shoes. You need to feel like, if I was them, like, do I look cool right now? Am I slipping? You know, is my shirt, like, is my color anyhow? You know, you should be looking at all those type of things. So by the time it gets to the client, it gets to the artist, you know, me, I've already seen, and probably like, honestly, when I edit, I'm like looking at almost what I consider is like every option of that shot. So by the time it gets to them, I'm like saying, this is me, this is you know, this is my final edit. The first edit they see is like my final edit. And most of the time I don't get any feedback. But if I do, and you know, oh, you know, I don't like the way I look in that shot, I'm not them, I can't tell them, like, you know, no, you look good. So I do, if it's very, very important to me, I do say like, yo, nah, we need to keep that. But, you know, if I think I can switch it out, I know all the footage, you know, I probably can switch it out, and, you know, choose the arguments that I have with them. And, you know, you choose your battles, and, you know, the ones you win, and then, yeah. So I think it's just a game of balance, you know. At the end of the day, it is them that you're representing. They know how they want to be represented, and you have to respect that as, you know, as the director. That's the way I see it.
I think, like I made a comment before that there will always be space for those kind of videos, because not everyone's a child. I think there's a market for that, and I would never try and say no more booty shaking videos or no more big ass in the video. But there was a time when I took a step away from those type of videos, because I didn't want to come on set and see that's what I'm seeing or that's what I'm directing. It just wasn't doing anything for me. But I think if an artist comes to you and that's what they want, as a director, are you delivering a service, or are you now being emotionally attached to what they want? Do you have to kind of, like Major said, there's balance. If an artist comes to you, the song is banging and that works, then it works for the track. But I think if it's on the moral compass and you have an issue with it, then you have to walk away.
Yeah, I mean,
but I wouldn't try and necessarily change that narrative, because I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with a woman that wants to dance in a video. She's a grown adult. That's what she wants to do. Why not? I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
I think I mean, you're completely right. But I also think, you know, we don't have to.
Sorry, I was talking too much.
It's here. It's here. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming.
It's loading. We'll come back to that. Any other questions?
I got it now. I got it now. I got it
He's
now.
got it, he's
Okay,
got
okay,
I got
we're
it
back,
now.
we're back, we're back.
Depends on what you really want to say as a director. You know what you're trying to say. Again, there's always space. There's always going to be a director who can direct that booty shaking video. Do you know what I mean? And if you want to direct a booty shaking video that day, I mean, as a director, feel free. The same person who directed Know You, which is one of my favorite videos, you know, Ladipo and Simi, also directed Rema Booty Bounce, you know, booty, 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 booty. You know what I mean? So what I'm saying, like he's a director. He's having fun because I know that guy is super creative both ways. You know what I mean? So he's just enjoying himself. You know, putting out the visuals for the song. He's serving the music, but he's also extending it out, you know, in his own vision. So I think, yeah, we don't necessarily need to change that narrative because, you know, it's part of the culture. You know, that's how people dance. That's how we dance in Africa sometimes, you know, and shake booty. Some people want to do that. It's true. And I've seen it, and I enjoy it too myself. You know, I'm not gonna lie. All right, so
He is the consumer.
You know, yeah, not every day, but you know, sometimes. So that's okay. So I think, yeah, that's that.
But I think maybe that's also one of the narratives then when we're discussing about narratives and whatever, because I think people forget that booty shaking and whatever is still indigenous.
Right now, and you watch
Yeah,
my
do you
day
get me? It's
Kuti
still
show, the girls are
indigenous in
shaking it.
certain, you know, in certain cultures that is a ceremonial dance, or in certain cultures that is a way that certain, you know, some women will celebrate. So we also need to detach ourselves from a very Western view of looking at nyash, as we like to say, or booty shaking, and just be like, well, it exists in Africa and it existed way before music videos.
You know,
Are we still recording this bit?
I think that what you're asking is very intentional, right? To intentionally promote Pan-Africanism. The truth is, I feel like I hear a song, I like it, I'll put it on my stories straight. Whether it's Black Sharif that did it, whether it's Olamide that did it, you know, and especially as we become more connected, and unless I meet somebody, I'm more likely to even post it because I'm supporting, I like him, I like her. I want to, you know, so okay, I'll give an example. I dropped a song on Friday, same Jackie in Ghana, Ghanaian artist, she was also dropping a song. So I saw on her page that she was dropping a song. So I hit her up, I'm like, hey, drop day mates, you know, and everything. The first thing I did was put her stuff in my stories. It's like, okay, Jackie's got something coming out, and the name of the song is something, you know. So she got something coming out on Friday, you know. Go check that out when it drops, you know. And the following day, she posted mine in her stories. Why? Is it because, oh, she's a Ghanaian artist and I must put it in my stories because we're, you know, no, it was because I like her stuff and I want to support it. I think more of that is definitely necessary, especially as we're collaborating more and more. I feel like Nigeria was fortunate. I think there was luck in our size. So there's so many of us. So naturally, just because of numbers, it's likely that's the reason why it's powering the Afrobeats movement. It doesn't and shouldn't. I really do, and to my own country people, I do want us to acknowledge that is luck. It is not. I don't think it's because of skill per se. I think it's just volume, you know. So, and I want us to make sure that we are aware of that and don't make it feel like it's another reason. And I really don't want to see things descend into some of the things that we saw online. I feel like it's unnecessary. I think it promotes the wrong kind of agenda. It should be camaraderie. I do think that because maybe because a lot of the big artists are from Nigeria, they should look for opportunities to do so. And look, Burna Boy has jumped on Black Sharif's second sermon, and he performs it everywhere he goes, you know, and they're shutting it down. And I feel like all these things. So when Black Sharif, when he jumps on stage in whatever country, when he goes to New York and he plays that song, it's going to go, right? And all these moments are important, you know, and unfortunately, because we're human beings, we don't celebrate those moments as much as they're beefing, you know, that would trend. But nobody's saying, you know, and I don't even see it as a Nigerian artist is helping a Ghanaian artist. He jumped on a song, they both like each other's music, and they're pushing it. It really is that. And I would really implore everyone to, you know, to look at it from that perspective. And then indirectly, we are promoting Pan-Africanism. Not with the same, like, I am going out today to promote this, but by the nature of the growth, the quality, collaborations increase, and therefore I'm doing songs with the South African artists. I'm doing, I have a song hopefully to drop soon with Black Diamond, and I would love to shoot it in SA. And I think all these things do those things, maybe not with the same intention you're talking about, but they still are important. That at least that's how I choose to see it.
So I'm going to add my perspective as the non-Nigerian, because I'm always the only non-Nigerian in the room. I'm Congolese, to give you some background, but I spent a lot of time in West Africa. I said I lived in Ghana. I probably had dual residency in Lagos at the same time. And this is why I asked, is it being recorded? Because I'm going to be honest with you, and I hope not to offend anyone, but I think sometimes when I come across, and again, this is not, I know a lot of these people in the panel very personally, and it's not poem, whatever, but I think sometimes when I meet Nigerians and West Africans specifically, when they speak about Pan-Africanism, it seems very disingenuous. I'm just going to be honest. Because even the example that you gave there was still very West Africa focused. And I think when we're talking about Pan-Africanism, we need to remember it's 54 countries, right? And not just West Africa. And not just these 2 countries in West Africa, right? Because I think sometimes when we're having these conversations, we focus very much on the beef and rivalry of these 2 countries instead of thinking about 54 countries and thinking about how each of those regions are also contributing to the African narrative. So I think sometimes when we focus a lot on numbers, for example, I work in a label and we have to always focus on numbers, we will always say, well, this is the biggest African video, forgetting that actually Diamond Platnumz does those numbers very quickly. Or forgetting that actually Aya Nakamura was on 300 million views on YouTube before most Anglophone people knew about Jaja, right? So I think sometimes when we're not being so intentional to look at other parts of the continent, for me, it makes that conversation very uncomfortable and disingenuous to me, because Pan-Africanism to me is looking at everyone and seeing that contribution and then being very intentional in the reposting, in the collaboration, in the just even correcting certain narratives when, even if that narrative benefits you, and being like, actually, no, Diamond did that before me, or this person in South Africa did that before me, or actually this person's trying to do that, because I genuinely do think if the focus is always just going to be on West Africa, one, we're doing a very big disservice to those 2 countries, because when they're beefing or they're faltering, it means that, oh my God, Africa's breaking apart, when actually East Africans are still working harmoniously, South Africans, and even just with Amapiano, a very uncomfortable conversation to have sometimes. I was in New York with a few people recently, and they were saying, is Zinoliski's track Amapiano? And I was like, no. And they're like, why? And I was like, because a South African will never allow you to say it's Amapiano. And it's okay for them to have ownership over that. And it's okay for you as a non-South African to support that and say, this is Amapiano, let's keep it pure, because that also builds up this industry. We can have something inspired by it, and please don't call it Afropiano, but we can have something inspired, by it, and then we can say that we're inspired by it because that's the nature of being African, right? You should be able to be inspired by what this person's doing here. But let's give credit where credit's due. We shouldn't be calling what isn't an Amapiano song Amapiano just because the post said the numbers are behind it. No, this is Amapiano. I was inspired by it, but listen to this person. Listen to Casper, listen to Kabza the Small, listen to Maporisa, listen to all these, all these people. Listen to these people because they inspired me. And I think if we keep focusing on West Africa, we're doing such a disservice on, one, the education that other people get, in not knowing that, there's bongo flavor here, there's Amapiano here, there's gom music here, there's Kwaito music, there's all these things. So I think sometimes when we have that Pan-African conversation, I think we're all being disingenuous of ourselves. I don't think we are that Pan-African music-wise and creativity-wise yet. I don't think we're there yet.
And I think that it's a question that we can't even answer here because it's beyond a music video question. Yeah. So before we even say what we think, we need to establish the roots of the problem, and it's beyond music video. What you're talking about is a Nigeria problem, and that's misogyny. you understand? Like that whole issue is past. Oh, you're a stylist. I've been to an office and I've been in Nigeria and I've been disrespected because I'm a woman. I don't. I My accent is, I'm speaking Fone, but that's my accent. I'm actually speaking. This is my accent. So it's a conversation and a discussion that goes way past. This is past Meji. This is past Po. This is past Climate Species. This is a Nigeria issue of respecting a woman in the workplace or actually having rules and regulations in the workplace. When you have a music video, that's why I said there needs to be some sort of trade, like a union where you're working a certain amount of hours. If you're working a music video in Nigeria, be prepared to work 48 hours. You're going to work overnight. You will work overnight. If it's a British shaking video, you work through the night. If you're hungry, that's on you. Do you understand? So this is past. No, I'm saying this is past, what can we do? And I think, to be honest, there needs to be more guys speaking out on behalf of women. And whether it's in the music video setting or somebody being harassed on the bus, I've seen situations online where women are harassed. People are turning a blind eye. Men and women are turning a blind eye. And I think, I'm going to shift to Meji to carry on because,
I mean,
yeah.
you alluded to it. It's creating safe spaces for them to work, for females to work. As Edith said, it's a greater problem than just on set. I think that's rife in workplaces throughout Nigeria and other parts of Africa as well, I'm sure. And I think if we continue, obviously that problem has to be fixed, but I mean, from a guy's perspective, I haven't ever seen any of that happen on my sets because we don't allow that to happen on my sets. And if it does happen on my set, the guy will be spoken to and, it will be handled accordingly because everybody should treat each other respectfully. And the same, if a female shouted down a male or if it's inappropriate, it's inappropriate and it shouldn't happen. And I feel like those type of, people need to be in positions of power who stamp it out when they see it. And as that continues, hopefully, we'll have less of that problem happening on set. We all just treat each other fairly. And I think, as creatives, we owe ourselves that, because it's hard to do the job anyway, so why do it with a sad face?
Before I joined the label, definitely it's not easy. It's not easy to do anything. And you rely on either blowing up or somebody recommending you or, having a manager that sees the vision and has the contacts and things like that. And, luckily for me, I've been fortunate enough to have worked with, people and managers. Laverne used to be my manager, by the way. Yeah.
Hi, Laverne.
They're very instrumental in my career and, who will go the extra mile. I don't know how it changed, because are you a music blogger in the UK? It is, I don't know how, because I'm from Nigeria and, the access to those things to me, like before I even joined it, because now I'm on a record label, even then, after my career got to a certain point, we're able to afford to have a publicist. We have a publicist in the UK. We handle our PR in Nigeria ourselves. But in the UK, we now have a publicist. But if I didn't join one, I can't even tell you, I don't even know how I would figure it out.
Having to search for press in Africa as a whole,
yes,
to be seen. To find someone in the UK, there's not many that talk just about Afrobeat.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm asking as an artist.
But I don't think you should find someone that's just going to talk to Afrobeats. I think if you're an artist, I think you need to find a publicist that's going to talk to
everybody, everywhere.
A bigger market. Because I think if you're just talking to Afrobeats, that's very easy. It's just an Insta blog. That's it. Do you get what I mean? You need to find someone that can actually bring your message to the masses. So someone that's used to speaking to rock fans and pop fans and whatever fans, because essentially that's what we're trying to do.
But I think I interject here as well, because when I was coming up, there wasn't many. There's probably a handful of writers that were kind of trying to help artists come up in that way. But now of late, I think there's probably at least around 20 to 30, like a good community who, obviously not just Afrobeats, but black music, black culture. They're very, very versatile across the board to kind of, enunciate, kind of really articulate that kind of feeling from whatever kind of project, whatever you're working on. So yeah, if you take my email or something, I can put you in contact with that kind of network of writers, because there definitely is more of that kind of network now that's helping to kind of push and do features. People like Anif, who's doing amazing work writing kind of massive kind of profile features, etc. So yeah.
And there are like, for example, there's August Agency, and one of the founders, co-founders, is a Nigerian woman, and she does work for TZ, she does work for Thames, and you know she's talking to that audience that's not just Afrobeats, and there's loads of freelance Black women as well, who some of them work at labels but also freelance and do work. So I know one of my colleagues, Abby, she does stuff for Western. So that's a different market that she's talking to as well. But in the label, she's doing stuff for R&B. She's doing Kenny Hoopla, that's kind of like pop rock type thing. So you just need to deal with people that are used to. And she does Wiz, she does Davido. People that are used to talking to so many different markets at one time that even when they're just thinking about you, they're not thinking about you as an Afrobeat artist. Just thinking about you just as an artist. And there's loads, honestly. There are countless. I think one thing about Black women is we stay having hustles. So if you go speak to a publicist and a label, it's very likely that she's doing something freelance at the same time, and just hit them up.
I don't think it's and that's why I said this conversation is bigger than this room. It's a conversation that we can't have the answer to and conclude here. And I think that Meji has made a point that on his set, wait.
No. You know what? What I said is what I do, and I think that helps. But I also think, putting more women in those positions of power within onset, as head of departments in certain regards, can also help, the situation. But again, that doesn't really change misogyny and somebody disrespecting women within them. That if that's them, and they should not be there. And that's the way I see it. So again, putting women in a position of power, allowing them to, and just at the end of the day, it's a respect thing. And I think that, the more people, the more women that we see in those positions, and the more we stamp out the nonsense when we see it on set, in those two things, again, it's a step forward. I mean, that's not going to solve the problem. As Edith said, it's greater than just this room, but I think, we can all take a personal step towards, making sure, that doesn't occur.
Just to conclude on that note, I had to chime in, please.
Conclude.
I'll be really quick. I think that just as we're talking really quickly on misogyny and all these things happening, I think that when you call somebody out or somebody has done something, there needs to be that's your punishment kind of thing, because we can say, oh, this person did this person did that, but what's the actual? I want to use the word punishment, but how do they pay?
Accountability.
Yeah, accountability. How do they pay for it? If I can just say, oh, this happened to me, oh, we're not going to deal with that person, it's done. There needs to be, quote unquote, accountability or rules in place. And that's why I said some sort of union, stamp it out. Make an example of somebody. You're blacklisted. Done. Cancelled.
I'm going to leave it to everyone to give like a closing remark, like a quick closing remark. Christian, closing remark?
I'm really excited with where the music's going. I think conceptually there's a lot more in terms of where artists can lean into their identity and think more outside the box. I know Afro Nation is coming back this year and many different other festivals. I'm excited to see Burna Boy at Glastonbury. Because that's, for me, that's a festival I've been to. Not even with thinking about Afrobeats and mine being in that kind of platform, but being able to see that on a kind of global stage and people really see how far he's moved as a performer. That's that kind of angle I want more for creatives to kind of be on. So it moves it away from just being particularly from this scene, but really appreciating it on a global stage. Yeah.
Edith?
I think for me, the thing that I've been more intentional about this year is working more with my peers. Before, I think we're sometimes too used to, I want to be in Hollywood, I want to be in this, whatever. And I said to Christian earlier that it's so important to work with people in the same network as you. Like, if you're making a film and you're a writer, you can find a DP and a producer that's within your network and kind of grow. And when you put out a short film or a feature, whatever it is you're putting out, that's going to get noticed. The attention will come to you. So I think for me, it's just being more intentional in the people that I work with and the projects that I do. But yeah, that's my closing statement. And stamp out
Misogyny.
misogyny.
That's my opening statement.
Is that your
stamp it out, you know. But my closing statement, I'm thankful for, you know, everybody spending their time out here listening to us today. Thankful for everybody on the panel and our wonderful moderator and Laverne, of course. And, you know, and yeah, it's an exciting time moving forward with African culture in general, but obviously, you know, Afrobeats in the music industry, and it's gonna be an incredible thing to look forward to in the future as well.
Yes, definitely. I want to say thank you. I really it's special to be here. The Africa Center really did a lot to get me out here, and I appreciate it. I'm happy to see what they've done. I've heard that the renovation it looked completely different before, and so congratulations. You know, thank you for having me. You know, I find it very interesting. I'm on a panel about Afrobeats, and I don't think I only make Afrobeats. So I'm looking forward to the future of how, and I'm happy for it because it's like the train, it's blazing the trail, and there's other carriages behind and other sounds, you know. Predominantly, I communicate through rap, so who knows what I'm going to call the genre that is going to come after, or what the music blogger is going to call it. So we're doing a lot. We have put something into the world. It's going to develop. It's going to grow. More genres will rise up from it. So thank all of you for being so invested in it. And my new song just dropped today. So go stream that.
Go stream it. Go
Big
stream
energy.
it.
Make a platinum in a night. And my closing remark would be, let's try to be more Pan-African.